Hey everybody, this is Will Lyon with Gremlin Outdoors, and today I'm going to show you how to back a bow with snakeskin. This is a hickory bow that I was working on that was kind of a failed experiment. This is the first bow I fire hardened, and it actually did pretty well. I think I charred it a little too much on the limbs. It doesn't matter so much in the handle if it's not bending. But really, a big piece popped out right there, and I just got caught up chasing the tiller there and tried to chase down the hinge and the limb and ended up with a really lightweight bow, so it's really of no use to me, but it is going to be a pretty cool wall art piece. So I'm going to fix it up and give it to my father-in-law so he can hang it up in his house. So what I've done here, this is another experiment I did. I got the back sinew from a cow because I work at a meat store, and it comes in strips about this long, and I just laid the whole strip all the way down and glued it down with Titebond 3 on both sides. And it actually drew it into a little bit of a reflex, and which I was impressed with. And that's only one layer, so it might work better if you do more layers. I just didn't want to waste more sinew on this bow. But so the first thing you'll need to do with a self bow, if you have sinew on it, you want to size the back. Well, you can do it without sinew too. First thing you're gonna want to do is size the back. So you're gonna get Titebond 3. That's the glue that I like to use because it's waterproof. And you put a bead of it all the way down the bow on both sides, and you just spread it out with your finger and make sure it's coated all the way down. Just a thin layer, not too much. And you let that dry out. I use this method on my Black Hunter, so it works with fiberglass bows too. I clean these timber rattlers myself and air dried them. And then I just scuffed up the limb and glued it on in the same manner that I'm fixing to show you. But it works well. I didn't get enough glue coverage on here, so it started peeling up a little bit in some spots. But I'll show you how to fix that if that does happen too. So let's get into it. First thing you need to do to prep the snakeskins to put on the back of the bow is to put them in a cup of hot water. Not hot, warm. So it's just past cold. It's not hot because you don't want to cook them. So you just get it down in the water. So these snakeskins still have the scales on them. I would rather take the scales off before I put them on the bow, but I don't know where any tape is to do that, so I'll show y'all how to do that after, once they're on the bow. But either way, they're gonna come off, and you know, whether you like it or not, so you gotta take them off so the finish doesn't come off with them, if that makes sense. So all I'm doing here, no method to the madness. I'm just getting it to where I can get it down in the water. May need a bigger cup. Let's see. That should be good. So you just get it in there, down in there like that, and then you let it sit for 20 or 30 minutes or so. And then, you know, just till it's rehydrated, till it's soft and everything. Till it's rehydrated and soft, and then you take it out and they're ready to glue up and put on the back of the bow. I'll get back to you when that happens. In the meantime, I've glued on these tip overlays. They're just some Osage tip overlays that I made, and I'm gonna file them down, get the rough work out of the way before we put the snakeskins on, so I don't have to do as much while the snakeskins are on there. So I'm gonna go do that real quick, and once I get done with that, I'll come back and I'll show you all the next step. So before you go any further, this is the wood. I know I said that earlier. This is the wood glue you're gonna use. I said that earlier. So it looks like. Before you go any further, make sure you have strips of t-shirt. Doesn't matter how long. Preferably you want them thicker because it'll cover more surface area, but it really doesn't matter. I've got a bunch of t-shirt here that old t-shirt that I've ripped up into strips. But what you're gonna do is once you lay the snakeskin on there, you're gonna wrap it all the way down the bow to hold it tight everywhere around. So make sure you have this before you go any further. Get more than you think you'll need, and then get about double of that, just in case. It's always a good standard to have. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna get the glue, and you're gonna, put a bead of glue all the way down. Zigzag it, works best. And then you're gonna spread it out to get coverage all the way to the corners. Make sure you get the corners good, because that's where it's gonna peel first. If you don't. But like I said, I'll show you how to fix that later in the video. So once you do that, I usually just go to about, halfway. Put one snakeskin on all the way down, as far as it'll go. And then I'll get the next snakeskin and start from the other side. But before you do that, lay it out on the bow. Make sure you have it the way you want it to sit on there. And make sure it looks right. Make sure it's the right length and everything. Always better to have too much than too little. You can't add back, but you can always take off. So make sure you have everything ready to go. There's the tip overlays. Just a little rough sketch. You gotta finish them up later, but that's the main work. But anyways, so just take your time and be careful while you're doing this. Okay, see how I've got it laid out on there? If it's got a pattern like this chicken snake, kind of see that center line? You want to keep that as straight as you can. Unless your bow has character, you can maneuver it around. But kind of line it up and get it prepared. Make it as easy on yourself as you can get it. And then just put it on there once you get the glue on. I know this is not the best camera angle, but I'll try to show you little snippets along the way. That's what it looks like, and then I'm just gonna smooth it out, and I'll show you what it looks like when I smooth it out. You wanna get ample glue, but you don't want too much because it's just gonna squeeze out the sides. I'm gonna say this right now too. Everything that I've learned on this channel, or just about everything, I've learned from other people. I've learned a lot. Obviously, I've learned it from other people. Learned a lot from Clay Hayes. Basically, everything bow making, I've learned from Clay Hayes. A little bit from Ryan Gill with Hunt Primitive. He's pretty awesome. Learned a little bit of it on my own, just trial and error. And then a little bit from a local guy that helped me get going on building bows. Gave me some staves and whatnot. But, and I've learned a little bit from Big Jim's Bow Company. So y'all go check all of those guys out. They're way better at all of this than I am. Only thing I'm doing here is just showing you how to do it if you want to ever do it, do it by yourself. Showing you that it's possible, because they show you how to do it better than what I can do. Once I've got it spread out down the back, and then you just lay the snake down. Got the snake laid on there. See, it's pretty straight. I don't care about it being perfect, because it is, it's a snake skin. A snake is never perfectly straight, but I get it close. So I've gone back and forth, making sure that there's no air bubbles under there. Kind of getting the glue squeegeed out. Just rolling my fingers down. And now I'm gonna do the other side, which is the exact same as this in reverse. Got both snakeskins on there. It's a little bit different color variation, but that's okay because nothing's the same in nature. I'm gonna put a beaver tail grip on there so it'll kind of break it up some, but looks good so far. Just make sure you get as much glue out from under there that wants to come out as you can, and get as much air bubbles out as you can. If you don't get all of them out, it's fine. You can just, I'll show you how to fix that later on. So now I'm gonna wrap it up with the shirts. You wanna make sure not to pick it up on, when you come back around this way, don't pick this side up with the shirts, okay? Make sure to keep an eye on that. Make sure you're keeping it tucked down tight so it doesn't pull it up. Because if it does that, it's not gonna stick. So I'll show you all what that step looks like once I get started, and then I'll show you what it looks like finished. Okay, so I've got the first shirt wrapped on there. You don't want it super tight, but you want it tight. Because if you do it too tight, it'll scrunch up in there. I'm making sure on this side that I'm holding it down with this finger and pulling up around so I don't, pull it up like I said. So I'll just overlap the next shirt on that one and go all the way down. Once you've worked all the way down, I go all the way down the bow, keeping it pretty tight. I'm not cinching it down by any means, just wrapping it just to get pressure on that snakeskin. And then at the end, I either tie it off with an extra or get an extra piece and just tie it around there to keep it sealed, keep it tight. So I'll let this sit overnight and I'll come back in the morning, and it probably won't be fully dry, but it'll be dry enough to take this off, probably. And I'll kind of trim up the edges if it's dry enough. If not, I'll let it sit while I go to work and then come back tomorrow evening and pick up from there. So I'll see y'all then. All right, it's the next morning. We're gonna take the wrap off, see what it looks like. I've never done this type of snake. I really like it. I like how it feels. It's the scales aren't as aggressive as, say, like a rattlesnake or something, because it's so much smaller. The scales are so much smaller. So that's what it looks like as of right now. I really like it. Looks cool, looks good. Everything's working to plan. So now what you'll do is, I have an X-Acto knife, but this blade isn't that sharp. I have a different one, but I really don't feel like going to go get it. This knife is extremely sharp. I just sharpened it the other day, so I'll just use that. But what you're gonna do now, if it's dry enough, and you'll be able to feel if it's dry enough. It'll be kind of squishy and wet, if it's not dry. This is pretty dry. So you're not really gonna peel up on the sides here, because that could peel it back around. So you'll just take the knife, you can peel it up a little bit, but don't pull it up much, because you don't want to pull it up on the edge of where it's going to be, stuck to the bow, because if you do that, then it's more prone to break off there, or pull up there. All right, so doesn't really matter at all where you start. You just kind of angle the blade inwards and just start slicing down the edge of the limb. Just use your limb, the edge of your limb, as your guide. You can also use a file. That's what Clay Hayes does. He uses like a a file that's not very aggressive. And what he'll do, which I've done too, but this one has the sinew on it, so you probably should do it like this, or you can do it on a fiberglass bow like this, just fine. But he'll get the file and just start filing down on the angle, on the edges, and it gets it, you know, only go downwards, because if you go up, it's gonna peel it back off. So go downwards all the way down, and it just starts cutting it away, and it's pretty clean tear. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and I'll show y'all what it looks like when I get finished. All right, so it's roughly done. I'll go back and finish it up. There's a few spots where I didn't get it perfectly flush how I like it, but it pretty much is done. So why would you want to put snakeskins on a bow? Well, as you can see, it completely changed the appearance of this bow. So there's aesthetics, and then there's camouflage, which this is probably the best camouflage you can get for a bow. And then another reason is, since this bow has sinew on it, the snakeskin is waterproof. So you lay it over the sinew, glue it down real tight, and it waterproofs the sinew. So next I like to put True Oil on top of my snakeskins to finish it out, but I've got some, I've got True Oil, which it works well, but I've got some Heinzman Minwax spar urethane, I think that's what it's called, and I'm gonna put that on this one because it's super glossy, and it'll look really good, I believe. So that'll be the next thing we do. I said the next thing was gonna be putting the finish on, but I forgot about the scales again. That's why I always do it before I put them on the bow. So if you do it before you put it on the bow, it's easier because you can get a strip of the white, what is the white tape? The white all-purpose tape, I forget what it's called. Anyways, it's like a painter's tape, but I can't say it for some reason. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's the white all-purpose tape. You tape it down on one side, tape it down on the other, get it, you know, lined up down on a flat surface, and then you get a strip of that tape and run it all the way down the skin, and you just press it down real good with your thumb. You gotta apply a pretty good amount of pressure. Just keep working it all the way down, and then you start to peel it up. And once you start peeling it up, you'll see the whole pattern of the snake come up with the masking tape. That's what it's called. Come up with a masking tape, and it's just strong enough where it'll take the scales off, but it won't peel the skin back off. Today I'm gonna use duct tape, but I'm gonna use a different method. It takes a little bit longer, but you can't really stick duct tape all the way down the bow because it will tear the skin off. So you just roll it up like so, and you just start doing like this, taking the scales off, and that should be what it looks like coming off. You just go all the way down. Like I said, it really doesn't matter that much if you don't get the scales off, but they will fall off later, and you'll be able to tell a difference without the finish on there. So you want to get them off, you know, as soon as possible. You want to get as many off as you can. So after I finish this, then we're on to the finish. This is what I'm putting on there. The finish I'm putting on there, I've heard it's pretty durable. Look at that snake skin. Camouflaged in the leaves. It's crazy. I was gonna leave those tips. I was gonna stain them brown, but I like that yellow. I think it looks good. It's different. It kind of offsets it. But I'll put 5, 6, 7, or 3 or 4 coats on this or so. Well, I just got back from work, checking out the bow, and the finish is done. Looks good. I really like how it looks. I like the Osage tips. They look pretty good. And then the snake skin all the way down. And then the tips again. This right here, you can see the transition. There's gonna be a beaver tail on that, so you're not gonna be able to see that. But I like it. I think it looks pretty cool. It's not identical, but that's okay. Makes it interesting. I said I was going to show you how to fix it if there's air bubbles in it. So I don't see any air bubbles in this one. Looks like it did pretty good. But here's one little one. But what you'll do is you just get something sharp, so I can use like my knife here. So this one doesn't matter since it's going to be wall art, so I'm not going to really fix all the little air bubbles. But you just get the sharp point, poke a hole in it, and then squeegee the air out. And you can either cut a little slit, put some glue down in there, or just leave it, depending on if you have sinew on it. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank y'all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.